Like and subscribe might be a simple click for you, but it will lead to a transformational change of our channel. Support us to achieve 5 million subscribers by year 2028. The film begins with a group of Nazi naval soldiers approaching a ship in the expansive Atlantic Ocean. On board are Captain Gus March-Phillips and Lassen, British military undercover agents, who anxiously await their arrival. The Nazi commander questions them. Lassen pretends to be Swedish as the commander and his men board to check passports and inspect their boat. Gus claims they are simply on a vacation, enjoying the freedom of sailing. During the tense inspection, Lassen offers food to the commander, which only angers him further. The commander demands they surrender with raised hands. Amidst the tension, Lassen jokes about betting on shooting Gus, who joins in the laughter. Enraged, the commander orders his men to douse the boat with gasoline, recounting a brutal story of a previous encounter. He gives them a grim choice: burn alive or swim for their lives. As gasoline is poured, the commander describes the horrific fate of those who defied him. Just as tension peaks, a hidden cabin is discovered and British soldier Hayes eliminates the threat from within. Turning to Gus for answers, Fred's inquiry triggers a flashback to 25 days earlier. The scene shifts to the British Prime Minister delivering dire news to Major M and Ian Fleming. They witness the harsh reality of Hitler's conquests. Poland, France, and Belgium have fallen, leaving Britain as Europe's last hope. Amid the chaos, it's revealed that America has pledged support, but Hitler's ruthless actions block vital supply routes. The Prime Minister stresses the urgency of disrupting the U-boat logistics to prevent further destruction. Despite the risks, he insists the mission remain secret, warning of severe consequences if captured by either British or Nazi forces. At the secret headquarters of the Special Operations Executive, M briefs Fleming and intelligence agents Miss Stewart and Heron. He unveils their ace, Captain Gus March-Phillips, a skilled operative currently imprisoned on the King's orders. Stewart and Heron are hopeful as Gus, surprised by the mission, is brought in. Assigned to Operation Postmaster, Gus is tasked with neutralizing the German U-boats by targeting the Duchessa, a critical supply link, currently docked at the West African island of Fernando Pa, with a tight deadline of 44 days. Gus insists on choosing his team, first calling for Hayes, motivated by a personal vendetta against the Nazis for his brother's death. He then selects Freddy, praising his expertise as a frogman. Following Freddy, Gus calls for Lassen, highlighting his rugged background of battling bears and tracking elks. He lauds Lassen's skill with a Bowie knife and bow and arrows, boasting over 100 inventive ways to defeat an opponent. Gus emphasizes the importance of Appleyard, a master strategist and chess grandmaster, recalling their shared experiences at Dunkirk and acknowledging that without him, he wouldn't be here. Ian reveals that Appleyard has been captured during Operation Postmaster and is held in La Palma. Undeterred, Gus insists on rescuing him, confidently taking on the responsibility. With the mission entrusted to him by M, Gus leaves the office, wearing M's coat as a symbol of authority. In the present, Gus explains the mission's details to his comrades, prioritizing Appleyard's rescue. He reveals the involvement of 2 additional comrades working undercover on a Nazi train to ensure the Duchessa is loaded with explosive supplies. Transitioning to the Nazi train operation, Stewart and Heron navigate their roles amid the dining car's chaos. Guided by Heron, Stewart seizes an opportunity to snatch a briefcase, deftly deceiving unsuspecting soldiers. Despite a soldier's attempt to coerce her into singing, the commander's intervention prevents further suspicion. Heron defuses the situation, allowing them to slip into a secluded cabin and relay vital information to M and Fleming. As the message is transmitted, M promptly forwards it to the Prime Minister, ensuring timely awareness of the Nazis' plans. Stewart and Heron skillfully return the briefcase to its original spot, maintaining their cover. In the Prime Minister's war room, Admiral Pound leads a meeting of army chiefs who reveal Hitler's surrender offer. Despite their urging, the Prime Minister firmly rejects the proposal, vowing to continue the fight. In a private meeting with M and Fleming, the Prime Minister comprehends the gravity of the situation, acknowledging the political risks involved. Unfazed by the potential fallout, he reaffirms his commitment to the mission. On the boat, Gus assembles his team, outlining the plan to rescue Appleyard, urging them to proceed under the cover of night. As they approach the Nazi camp on La Palma, they realize waiting for darkness could mean Appleyard's death. With little time to spare, they decide to strike immediately, but their efforts are nearly thwarted when 2 guards spot them. Lassen quickly neutralizes the threat. They break into the base, ruthlessly eliminating the Nazis and successfully freeing Appleyard. Meanwhile, on Fernando Po, Stewart and Heron arrive at the bustling port, only to find an unexpected increase in men, tugs, and Duchessa crew. Undeterred, Heron directs Stewart's attention to Lure, describing him as even more treacherous than the Nazis. Heron tasks Stewart with keeping Lure occupied. Entering Lure's domain, Heron negotiates a deal for warehouse crates, but Stewart intervenes, offering a significantly lower price. Using her keen business sense, she persuades Lure that a higher percentage would be unfavorable for both parties. When asked about her identity, Heron introduces Stewart as his esteemed contact from New York. Through charm, wit, and linguistic skill, Stewart convinces Lure to entertain their proposal, enticing him with promises of excitement and profit. Impressed by her fluency in German and her ability to solve his riddle, Lure agrees to collaborate. As they part ways, Heron's revelation of Lure's cruelty unsettles Stewart, but with Heron's support, she steels herself for the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, Appleyard provides Gus and his comrades with insider knowledge, mapping out the quickest route to evade both British warships and German U-boats. At Lure's casino, Heron leaves Stewart to navigate a tense encounter between Captain Binia and a waiter named Femi. As Heron distracts Binia, Stewart cleverly answers Lure's riddle. Their conversation turns serious when Lure asks her about dealings with Jews. Stewart tactfully plays along, winning Lure's favor and paving the way for a burgeoning friendship. Heron proposes a party to celebrate their new alliance. Stewart and Heron relay crucial information about the Duchessa's early departure to Gus and the Secret Operations Executive HQ. Unbeknownst to them, a mole within the SOE intercepts the message, passing it on to Fleming, who informs M. As M departs to act on the intelligence, the mole tips off Admiral Pound about the covert mission, setting off alarm bells. Back at base, Gus and his team strategize their next move to reach Fernando Po ahead of schedule, with only 12 days remaining. London is rocked by a devastating German bombardment, shaking the city and plunging it into further uncertainty. The Prime Minister, sensing the turmoil, addresses his valiant soldiers embarking on a mission never undertaken before. As they near their destination with just 2 days remaining, they are intercepted by a British warship. Sensing the futility of evasion, Gus halts their progress, bracing for confrontation. Confronted by the Major, Gus and his crew stand firm, refusing to abandon their unauthorized mission. The Major warns of potential international repercussions and reveals orders from Admiral Pound to halt their advance. As tensions rise, a looming threat appears in the form of an approaching U-boat, diverting the warship's attention. Seizing the opportunity, the Major allows Gus and his crew to slip away, urging them to reconsider their course of action. With quick thinking, Gus steers their boat out of harm's way, evading the danger. The next day, Heron introduces Stewart to Cambili, the Prince of Fernando Po, whose English education at Eton sparks an initial presumption of entitlement. However, Stewart's charm and persuasion soon win him over, convincing him to join forces against the common enemy. Demonstrating her prowess with various firearms, Stewart proves her worth to Cambili and Heron, earning their trust. Hayes and Gus establish a rendezvous point with Billy and Heron. The camaraderie between them solidifies, especially as Gus recognizes Billy as the former captain of Eton's cricket team. Gus lays out his plan to defeat the Nazi U-boats in the North Atlantic by targeting the Duchessa and its escort tugs. Despite the odds, Billy is intrigued and learns of the daunting numerical disadvantage faced by Gus and his men. Billy swiftly commands Ade to gather his men, revealing their own cache of firearms. However, he expresses skepticism about the Duchessa being fully visible due to its abundant lighting. Gus reassures him, promising that Heron will handle the lights. Later, as Heron readies the explosives to plunge the night into darkness, Stewart worries for his safety. Heron, undeterred, urges her to focus on bringing Lure to the party he has arranged. Attempting to compensate Billy for his assistance, Gus offers payment, only to be rebuffed as Billy asserts the value of a title bestowed by His Majesty's government over mere monetary compensation. Accepting the offer in exchange for a knightly title, Billy returns the money. Meanwhile, Heron plants the bomb in the light's control room, encountering 3 Nazis who threaten him. Using his secret weapon, Heron swiftly neutralizes the threat. As evening falls, Gus and his comrades await the darkness, observing 2 separate parties, one for officers and another for soldiers. Stewart, escorted by Lure, joins the festivities. While Heron distracts Captain Armando with the help of a prostitute, Stewart seeks out Heron, who informs her of the high-ranking officers present and instructs her to engage Lure. Despite Luhr's initial discontent, Stewart assures him of a special performance. However, their conversation is interrupted by the Duchess's owner, revealing Luhr's alterations to make the ship unsinkable. Stewart rushes to inform Heron, urging him to halt the mission. Heron, in turn, implores Stewart to keep Luhr occupied while he intervenes with Gus. As the lights dim, Gus prepares to initiate the mission, only to be halted by Appleyard, who alerts them to Heron's attempt to warn them, sending a message acknowledging the Duchess's changes. Gus orders his team to stand by for further instructions. Meanwhile, M receives the message, but their secrecy is compromised when Admiral Pound confronts them, threatening a tribunal. Despite this revelation, M defiantly orders Gus to proceed with the mission, supported by the Prime Minister's unwavering determination buoyed by Gus's reputation for defiance. Gus feels the weight of the situation bearing down on him as his friends bicker, questioning the sudden reinforcement of the boat. Losing his patience, Gus watches as Appleyard steps in with a daring proposal, stealing the Duchessa. Appleyard lays out a plan involving rigging the anchor, S-boats, and fuel supplies to cut off the Nazis' pursuit and halt the flow of supplies to the U-boats. With determination, Gus rallies his team, preparing for the audacious task ahead. Meeting with Billy, Gus divulges the altered plans and requests the use of his tugboats. He assigns roles to his team, with himself and Hayes handling the soldiers on patrol, Freddy setting explosives, and Lassen dealing with the Duchessa crew alongside Appleyard. Though hesitant, Billy agrees, rallying his men to prepare for action. Meanwhile, Stewart distracts the officers and Luhr with her singing while Gus and his team execute their mission with precision. As Gus and Hayes dispatch Nazis in the harbor, Freddy readies the S-boats. Elsewhere, Appleyard and Billy's men move on to the Duchessa while Lassen stealthily rigs the anchor and launches his attack from within. Stewart's interactions with Luhr raise suspicions, but she maintains her guise, keeping him intrigued. Simultaneously, Freddy and Billy's men secure the fuel depot, only to be startled by Gus and Hayes' unexpected arrival. After Stewart's song ends, she resumes her approach to Luhr, who promises to show her his den. Inside the Duchessa, chaos erupts as Appleyard and his team confront the Nazis head-on. With the Duchessa cleared, Appleyard and Lassen survey the explosives, estimating their effectiveness in halting the U-boats for a substantial 6 months. Gus and Lassen exchange nods, indicating their readiness as they await the detonation of the Duchessa's anchors. Finally, with anticipation mounting, the anchors explode, sending shockwaves through the ranks of Nazi soldiers and officers. Gus cautions Billy that the true chaos will ensue when the fuel depot detonates. Meanwhile, Luhr leads Stewart to his abode, where he confronts her about her true identity. Before he can act on his suspicions, the fuel depot erupts, diverting the Nazis and Luhr's attention. Amidst the chaos, Gus and his men bide their time, strategically unleashing explosive retaliation, decimating the Nazis and their weaponry. In the midst of the firefight, Hayes sustains a gunshot wound to the shoulder, but Fred swiftly comes to his aid, whisking him out of harm's way. Across the harbor, Heron dispatches 2 guards and observes Luhr's arrival, witnessing his ruthless response to the taunts of Armando and the Duchessa's captain. In a fit of rage, Luhr eliminates them both, ordering his men to prepare the S-boats for departure before Hitler arrives for their apologies. However, as they board the S-boats, they meet a fiery demise courtesy of explosive traps set by Gus and his comrades, who revel in the spectacle. Amidst the turmoil, Heron spots Stewart being led away, prompting him to spring into action. Facing off against Luhr, Stewart outwits him, dispatching him with a well-aimed shot from her concealed weapon. Heron swiftly arrives to rescue her just as Gus, urged by Billy, prepares to depart. Spotting an approaching patrol boat, their fears are allayed as they realize it's Heron and Stewart returning safely. With the mission accomplished, they rejoice, and Appleyard wastes no time in notifying the British Navy of their success, signaling the completion of their daring operation aboard the Duchessa. The following morning, as they dock at the warship, the Major delivers sobering news of an impending tribunal for defying Admiral Pound's direct orders, while Billy is dismissed to return to his island. Before departing, Gus expresses heartfelt gratitude to Billy for his invaluable assistance. Days later, the Prime Minister learns of 3 Italian ships lurking in international waters. Weeks pass, and Gus and his comrades find themselves summoned to a meeting within the confines of a military prison. Standing in formation, they're taken aback to find the Prime Minister awaiting them. He appears angry at their insubordination yet praises their efforts as pivotal in garnering American support against Hitler's forces. With a gesture of reconciliation, he arranges a lunch for them before departing, declaring that Gus and his team are now under his employ. As the credits roll, the contributions of Gus March Phillips, Jeffrey Appleyard, Hayes, Anders Lassen, and Marjorie Stewart are appreciated alongside their remarkable achievements. In a touching conclusion, it's revealed that Stewart, having tied the knot with Gus, continues her work in the film industry, sealing their true tale of adventure and camaraderie. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you don't miss any of our video updates.